Every story appears ordinary until you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV. Leave a space, then news. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
We sincerely apologize for that ancient transmission. Welcome again to Primetime News. I am Ebulomo Adekunle. In our major story, as new cases recorded in Lagos, President Goodluck Jonathan and state governors are to meet and collaborate on the best way to stop the spread of the deadly Ebola virus. Also in this program, the federal government says there is no going back on troops deployment for election. National Conference delegates express worry on implementation of final report. And outside Nigeria, United Nations aid warns of fresh conflict in Gaza unless Israel lifts blockade on Palestine. And now the details. The federal government and state governors are to meet on Wednesday to further deepen collaboration and efforts to stop the spread of Ebola virus. President Goodluck Jonathan disclosed this in Abuja. He also advised Nigerians against making contact with corpses.
As a government, we promise Nigerians that we'll do everything humanly possible to contain the Ebola. We are doing our best. On Wednesday, I'm going to meet with all the governors of the states. They will come with their commissioners in charge of health, and we must make sure that every state is prepared. Where they lack, federal government will support the state to make sure that they have what it takes to contain the Ebola. It's unfortunate that one madman brought the Ebola to us, but we have to contain it. 60% of the spread is during burials. We are pleading that we must be mindful about burials.
Another nurse who treated the late Liberian-American Patrick Sawyer in Lagos has tested positive to Ebola virus. This brings to 10 the number of confirmed Ebola cases in Nigeria. Health Minister Onyebuchi Chukwu, who disclosed this at a press conference in Abuja, says 177 people are under observation after making primary contact with the index case.
It's only a few days since the late Patrick Sawyer brought the Ebola virus into Nigeria, and already the casualty figure is climbing. 10 cases have now been confirmed, including the index case. All affected Nigerians are said to have had contact with the late Liberian American.
It has been 22 days since EVD first landed in Nigeria. As of today, 177 primary and secondary contacts of the index case have been placed under surveillance or isolation. 9 developed Ebola virus disease, bringing the total number of cases in Nigeria to 10. Of these 10, 2 have died, that is, the Liberian American and the Nigerian nurse, while 8 are alive and currently on treatment.
The new case is a health worker like others. And although the minister, as usual, will not disclose her identity, but he disclosed that she is a newly married nurse.
She doesn't have children, and it's only the husband she's been in contact with. So the husband is under surveillance, yes. Only the husband? Only the husband, newly married, and only 2 of them live in the house.
The health authorities say Nigeria is collaborating with local and international partners to contain the virus, but the minister is also looking forward to doctors calling off their strike.
We are still discussing with the NMA. We are still pleading with the Nigerian Medical Association to ask its members to return to work. While we are still doing that, we've not gone to bed. We are not sleeping. There are doctors who are not part of the strike, and they've been taking part in the management of these patients. As of today, for the treatment of Ebola virus disease, the NMA strike is not affecting it. But that is not to say that we don't want doctors to work. We certainly want doctors to work, particularly now that we want to be sure that in every other state we don't have the problem. So we're still in touch with the NMA, and we hopefully they may even call it off this week.
The Nigerian government is convinced that its efforts to check the spread of the virus will succeed. But for now, the number of confirmed cases is now in double digits, with over 100 people either under observation or in isolation.
Still on the Ebola virus, Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola has urged religious and traditional leaders to assist in the fight against the spread of the deadly Ebola virus. Abiola Oluwole was at the sensitization meeting. His report is presented from our studio.
There has been panic amongst residents in Lagos since news of the first reported case of Ebola virus was reported. So far, 8 out of the 10 contacts with late Patrick Sawyer, the Liberian who imported the virus into Nigeria, have tested positive. Governor Fashola met with traditional rulers and religious leaders to sensitize them on efforts to prevent the spread of the disease.
The importance of that effort is that if we know of any suspected case, it's not something to keep in the house or be doing traditional rites for or be praying for, or using a food or urugu, it does not work.
According to the governor, government has set up an isolation emergency center to take care of any suspected case of the disease.
Doctors know how to treat patients, but they themselves have to be trained in order to manage this virus. So not any doctor can just go in there, because if you go in from this door, for example, you must not come out from this door. You must go out from another. The whole idea is that everything that is that virus will not leave this building again. That's the only time that we can say we are safe. So we have to quickly prepare this building. This is the isolation building, where those who have the illness are going to be looked after.
The religious and traditional leader says they will support government by sensitizing the populace about the existence of the disease and its mode of transmission.
A drastic awareness, a continuous awareness of the unwanted guest we have on our hands in Nigeria, especially in Lagos. That is the Ebola virus. And that is not a disease we can play about or spiritualize. It's a disease we need to confront headlong by taking to all the medical counsel that we have received with the symptom and cooperating also with the government to curb the spread of this virus in our society.
About this Ebola, how one can contact it, how one can take care of it, how we are to handle it in general. So we have learned it here. We are to tell others what exactly is. We cannot all be here, but once we have the representative, I think everything will be okay.
You know what the government just tell us now? It was enlightenment, what to do. Just to tell us if you are having the symptom, if you are somebody maybe is sick, that we know that this is affecting him.
Governor Fashola also met with local government chairmen and primary health care officials in his effort to curtail the spread of the disease.
And now to Liberia. Politicians have called for the postponement of campaigns for the forthcoming Liberian elections as the country tries to deal with a deadly outbreak of the Ebola virus. Residents of northern Liberia are in a state of danger for months as the deadly Ebola epidemic swept through the region. Now they face a new threat as measures to stem the spread of the virus spark fears of starvation.
The life of the Liberian people is more important than even the electoral process. What is more important than the life of a group of people who are supposed to participate in an electoral process? A healthy population can participate in a healthy election. As it is currently, it is a remote possibility for anyone to think that we can conduct an election where people will be able to participate in mass, because the fight against the Ebola disease in our country is serious, and we as an institution are very sensitive to this very important national endeavor. We think that it's important for us to postpone the election to a date during which we know that we would have made significant strides in our fight against the Ebola disease.
I welcome the postponement of the campaign. I think we were the first to to make that known. In the beginning, there were people who felt that my recommendation had whatever motive to it, but I believed that we could not be talking about elections or politicking while our people were dying.
The National Hospital in Abuja now has a state-of-the-art trauma center, complete with a helipad for air ambulances. The complex, which has a capacity for 80 beds, was first conceived in 2010, but actual construction did not begin until a year later. Vice President Namadi Sambu commissions the 1 billion naira center on behalf of President Goodluck Jonathan. Hepatitis is a medical condition defined by the inflammation of the liver. It is characterized by the presence of inflammatory cells in the tissue of the organ. Hepatitis may occur with limited or no symptoms. It often leads to jaundice, poor appetite and malaise. A medical doctor, Olawusi Emmanuel, says hepatitis is a global health problem. We'll bring you details of that later. There was panic at the arrival hall of the Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos, as a passenger on queue at the Port Health Unit of the terminal building slumped and died. He slumped while waiting to collect his vaccination and inoculation certificate, otherwise known as yellow card. The passenger, identified as a Nigerian, was said to be on his way to Ghana for medical treatment. His death coincided with the visit of the new aviation minister, Osita Chidoka, who inspected facilities at both the domestic and international terminals of the airport. According to airport authorities, the passenger arrived to Lagos on August 8 for business transactions and took ill. When his health got worse, he reportedly called his doctor in Accra, who advised him to return for further medical treatment. President Goodluck Jonathan says he will continue to deploy soldiers for election duties in the country. Jonathan made the statement in his first official reaction to criticisms by the opposition on the presence of troops in Osun State before and during last Saturday's governorship election. Jonathan maintains that national interest is the sole reason why soldiers were deployed.
I'm surprised that some political parties are advocating that governments to withdraw security during and after election. What surprised me most is that even some labor leaders are advocating that government should not secure people during elections. And I wonder how short human memories are. My promise of free and fair election is clear. All governorship elections that have been conducted so far, you can agree with me that it has been free and fair. I am from PDP, the ruling party, but I don't use that strength to make sure that PDP must win by all means. PDP have lost election in Edo State, we lost election in Anambra State, we lost election in Ondo State. Of course, only 2 days back, we have lost election in Osun State. If I was interested in manipulating elections, my party will not be losing all these governorship elections. All what we want is credible elections.
The credibility of election results often depends on reports of independent observers, whether local or foreign. The Police Service Commission and Clean Foundation reviewed the process in Osun and gave recommendations. Rashid was there and filed in this report.
The August 9th governorship election in Osun State, which produced sitting governor Rauf Aregbesola as the winner, has witnessed different kinds of statements from observers, ranging from the conduct of security agents to welfare and militarization of election.
We noted, as has become the pattern, that security officials were deployed en masse across the state. Most polling units had 3 or more security agencies, the presence of masked security personnel that were patrolling around the state, particularly across 2 agencies. People were deployed from other state commands into the state for the elections, and there were no accommodation provision for them beyond primary school buildings.
The Police Service Commission, represented by Albert Adeola, commends the police for the display of professionalism, saying that the issue of police welfare will be looked into properly.
We noted that some of the policemen even slept at the polling units. Some of them arrived before 6 and properly dressed, properly identified. The welfare package equally, you see, it is it's not within our jurisdiction. It is purely a police affair. But because of our the nature of our job, the issue also is going to be raised in advisory position.
Giving overall commendation for the Independent National Electoral Commission and security agencies, they advised that other flaws should be improved upon in order to have better outings in forthcoming elections.
We commend INEC, like we said earlier, but we commend the police and other security law enforcement agencies, and then the oversight agencies who are, putting more effort to ensuring that people are held account for their functions. Security agencies should continue to plan ahead of elections, particularly in regards to deployment of logistics and personnel, and to ensure that the welfare of their officials are properly catered for. We urge INEC and the law enforcement agencies to take seriously the need to prosecute electoral offenders. This would go a long way in stemming the tides of malpractice and impunity.
The peaceful conduct of elections have been a major challenge in the past, but recent elections have proven that electoral processes can be conducted without ballot box snatching and violence. Rashid, CoreTV News, Oshogbo.
In the same vein, the Independent National Electoral Commission has been commended on the outcome of the August 9 governorship election in Osun State. A political analyst, Ola Olateji, commended INEC for performing her duties well during the election.
I need to congratulate the Independent National Electoral Commission for a job well done in Osun. They've been able to maintain the independence of the commission, in spite of the fact that heavy military or armed forces personnel were mobilized into Osun State, which some people called intimidation, which I don't see from that angle, but that INEC was able to stand up and to conduct that election in a way that allowed Aregbesola to emerge the winner, not taking into consideration that they said who pays the piper, they takes the throne. PDP government, the federal government being controlled by PDP, pays INEC. But INEC now, standing up under Jega to conduct an election where the same PDP will be defeated, I say they deserve a lot of commendation.
It's the CoreTV Primetime News. We'll take a break and we'll be back with more reports. Do not go away.
Nivea Nourishing Body Lotion. Its effective formula with Hydro IQ gives your skin deep and long-lasting nourishment for skin that stays moisturized all day long. Look great, feel great, with deeply nourished skin. Nourishing Body Lotion from Nivea.
Some say it's a sharp pain. Some might even say it's a shocking pain. And it's usually caused by hot, cold drinks. It definitely affects the quality of life. The treatment for tooth sensitivity can be very simple. Brushing with Sensodyne twice daily will give you long-lasting protection from tooth sensitivity. Sensodyne works inside the tooth and it soothes the nerve, and then the patient will have a relief of their pain. Sensodyne can be used every day. You don't have to use another toothpaste. For me to have a toothpaste that solves that problem so simply is what I like about Sensodyne.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website, www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then News. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Many thanks for being there. Ahead of the final session of the National Conference, many delegates are concerned about how their recommendations would impact Nigeria's future. There are also others who say the 3-month session shows that the Nigeria's problems were worse than they initially thought. The delegates are, however, hopeful that the outcome of the conference won't be discarded. Pius Samuel reports.
After 3 months of deliberations, the National Conference is set to wind down. The final report is done, but delegates are concerned about how Nigerians will benefit from the outcome of the conference. Resource control remains a sticking point, and these delegates believe regions should be given what they deserve.
Personally, I would have wished that the 5% for area ravaged by insurgents and other matters should be made national. So many parts of this country have suffered all kinds of things. We in Southwest, in Ogun and Lagos, a year or two ago, there was so much devastation in terms of flood. Also in Delta. Delta State was, had substantial part of Delta flooded and many houses ruined. So if they had made that 5% national, rather than to North Central, North East and Northwest, and excluded Southwest and Southeast, was what created the problem.
A number of them are also worried over the security situation in the country. This is why delegates like Olu Falaye pushed for state police.
If here, during the First Republic, every region had its own constitution, in which they included the powers devolved to them at the center. So for the first time, the states will have their own constitution. That means they are now proper governments. 2, each state will have a police force which will enforce its own enactments. That is the meaning of a government. A government is a body that can legitimately make laws and enforce them by their own authority through a police force. That is the definition of a government. Now they are proper governments. 2, in the federation units control their own local governments. Hitherto they were third tier control from Abuja. Now they are proper state federation units. 4, we now have courts of appeal at the state level, which will be the final court, except in cases like murder and capital punishment, etc. But for most cases will end in the state Supreme Court. So you don't have to go from Calabar to Abuja.
But at least one delegate told CoreTV News that the conference showed him a dark side of Nigeria he never knew.
Very illuminating in many respects and opened my eyes to many things. Some of them very sad things, many of them very sad things, but true things, I think. I mean, there's really no absolute truth, but my own perception is that things are worse in Nigeria than I thought.
And with many people wondering how the outcome of the conference could become part of the country's laws, Festus Okoye says the government has a number of options.
If the leadership of this country has the political will and is sincere and decides to implement some of the recommendations, Nigeria will be a great place. Now, some of the recommendations are administrative in nature and affects either the federal government or the state governments or the local governments. So I believe that they should be segregated and taken to those levels of government. Some of the recommendations are policy in nature, that you don't need any legislation or any National Assembly intervention to implement. The organs concerned with all these things should go ahead and implement them.
So, what then should Nigerians expect as the conference reconvenes for a final session?
Before we leave, we concluded that we will send our report to Mr. President, who sent us there. We will now set up a technical committee that will transfer that issue. So we are going there now. We are resuming on Monday. It's supposed to be on the 4th. They are sent to, because of this Salah holiday, only for us to peruse the report. So we don't want anybody to smuggle things inside the report. What we don't discuss, we enter there. I think it may be about 2-3 days after we peruse and we okay it to be signed. Everybody has a copy, and I leave the floor.
Now that another national conference has gone down into history, Nigerians can only hope that the outcome will go a long way in making the country a better place.
The national conference is adjourned till Wednesday to enable delegates go through the final report. The report, which is in 4 volumes, was distributed to the delegates on resumption from a 3-week break. Conference Secretary Valerie Azinge announced that delegates would be given 3 days to study the report before they reconvene to consider it. A number of the delegates spoke on the adjournment.
All we have come here to do is not to start debating over again, is to look at the report, to cross the T's and dot the I's. And if people are fastidious, the most important areas in this report are the recommendations, the resolutions. And I think that if we are serious, if we are not here just for, if we are here for business and not for leisure, in time they have given us enough to go and look at those recommendations, to look at that, they reflect what we decided. So I do not see any problem with the timing. And if we cannot finish in those 2 days, perhaps we can spill into the weekend. But I think we have stayed long enough on this. We must end this and return the report to the president.
You know, in everything, even when you were reading for exams, or when we were reading for exams in the university, you focus on the areas of your strength. If you focus on your weaknesses, you will lose your strength. So what I think will happen is the secretariat, the management, the leadership had put together the Constitution of 1999, all the amendments that were resolved to do at the plenary, and then they've taken all and suggested a draft of what it will look like. That's something to look at. That's not too bulky. That's one. 2, each person in different committee will go and focus on their own committee. And peradventure, when we get together, we'll be able to say, let the committees see all the things one by one. And if there's no departure from what was agreed, especially at plenary, then the votes and proceedings, if there's no departure, then there's no point wasting time. We can do this in 3 days.
Students of Lagos State University have appealed to the state government and the authority of LASU to free students who are being victimized by their roles in the fight against the fee hike in the institution. In a statement by the Students' Union President Nuruddin Yusuf, the students commended Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola for reversing the institution's fee to 25,000 naira. Yusuf said the reversal of fee would restore the hope of thousands of Lagosians who had previously previously been denied access to education. Yusuf commended the LASU Restoration Team, Students' Parliamentary Council, past union leaders, Academic Staff Union of University, Senior Staff Association of Nigerian University, Education Rights Campaign and Joint Action Front, among others, for their roles in the agitation. The leadership of the National Association of Nigerian Students in the Southwest Zone has commended the Lagos State Governor, Babatunde Fashola, for reverting the tuition of the Lagos State University to its original rate. Fashola had increased the tuition from 25,000 naira to a maximum of 350,000 naira, sparking off mass protests. It was reduced to between 34 to 60%, but the students were dissatisfied before it was finally reduced to the original amount. The Public Relations Officer of NANS Southwest, Jeremiah Olatinwo, thanked the Lagos State government for the reversal. Olatinwo says the action will advance the frontiers of education and make education affordable to the common man, saying he is grateful that the governor reversed the fees regardless of whether or not he had a political reason for doing so. The West African Examinations Council has announced the release of the May-June 2014 results. Anita Fatuji has details.
The head of National Office of the West African Examinations Council, Charles Iguridu, says in the last examination the council introduced a device which helps generate valid examination reports for each examination center. The device enabled supervisors and staff to address and record the process in real time.
Identity verification, attendance, malpractice, and post-examination management system. This ICT-driven device enables supervisors and staff of the council on duty to address and record the process in real time on the day of the examination. These include identity verification, capturing and recording occurrences as they happen, such as candidates' attendance and examination malpractice, and transmit same to our database here in Lagos. With this, the council is able to generate valid examination reports of each examination center.
He said the council is introducing biometric-enabled certificates, which will have details of the candidate's biometric features and actual grades encrypted.
Today, gentlemen of the press, I am delighted to announce the release of the results of the May-June 2014 West African Senior School Certificate Examination. Of the total number of candidates that sat the examination, 791,227 candidates, representing 46.75%, obtained 6 credits and above. 982,472 candidates, representing 58.05%, obtained 5 credits and above.
Igurido said the council has decided to extend the normal registration period of the November-December WASC to Sunday, August 17, 2014.
Let me seize this opportunity to inform you that the council decided to extend the normal registration period for the November-December 2014 WASC to Sunday, August 17, 2014, so as to enable candidates who sat the May-June examination and who may have any deficiencies to register for the November-December examination diet if they so wish.
Head of the national office said he is happy that Nigerian students performed better than students from other countries.
We apologize for that mix-up. That report was filed in by Omotayolo and not Anita Fatuji. The National Agency for Food No fewer than 14 persons have been killed and 230 cows stolen by gunmen in Yilwa town of Shandam and Jos East local government areas of the state. The gunmen attacked Yilwa village in the early hours of Monday, shooting sporadically into the air and killing 12 people. The rampaging gunmen succeeded in rustling over 200 cattle. Eyewitnesses say the gunmen were heavily harmed. About 15 homes were razed by the gunmen in Jos East. The state's police command spokesman, Emmanuel Abu, confirmed the attacks. He did not confirm the casualty figures. He added that the Commissioner of Police, Nasiru Oki, has deployed additional security in the affected villages to control the situation. Survivors of Boko Haram attacks in the south who fled to northern Adamawa areas of Madagascar, Michika and Lassa have received letters threatening further attacks on them. Over 10,000 people in Goza local government area of Borno State have been displaced by the sect. Some are currently in Adamawa, others in Taraba, while many fled to Cameroon for refugee. The threats came after the militant group attacked Polka in Goza local government area of Borno State on Sunday. Executive Director of Stephanos Foundation, Mark Lippo, says he has been receiving distress calls from the residents who appear helpless at the moment. Lipto says Boko Haram has also sent threat letters to areas where the victims were running to. They asked all women and children to leave Goza town or be attacked. Reports say the militants arrived the town with hijabs and food supplies to younger and average-aged women. There are strong indications that the federal government remains on track to consolidate the operations of some aviation agencies in order to streamline their activities as recommended by the 2012 Steve Oronsai's report. The decision to go ahead with the merger is coming against the backdrop of the opposition by stakeholders in the industry. In May this year, government issued a notice that it would merge the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, Nigerian Airspace Management Agency and Nigerian Meteorological Agency to become the Federal Civil Aviation Authority so as to reduce the high cost of managing the agencies. But in reaction to this plan, industry stakeholders, including workers' unions, the airline operators of Nigeria and other professionals in the industry criticized the move, saying it would lead to a conflict when the regulatory body is merged with service providers and NIMET, which is supposed to regulate it. CoreTV News also learnt that the president of the International Civil Aviation Organization, Aviation World Governing Body, Bernard Aliyu, who is a Nigerian, had reached out to government on this merger, strongly advising against it. However, a letter from the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation has ordered the affected agencies to send a progress report on the proposed merger to the government, and the new aviation minister, Osita Chidoka, has been intimated with the federal government's decision to go ahead with the merger of the agencies. It's the primetime news on CoreTV News. We'll take a short break, and when we return, it will be Sabena Izoku on Business News.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website, www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then News. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Nigerians continue to travel the city of Lagos.
There is still a poor level of
Be the first to know. From the north, south, east, west and around Africa, we break the news.
One Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are CoreTV News.
Welcome to CoreTV,
a 24-hour news station.
One continent, 54 countries, over 2,000 languages, but united with similar interests. As news breaks, we give you in-depth analysis around Africa every Monday on CoreTV News.
Hello there and welcome to the world of business with me, Sabena Izuku. As the Nigerian Stock Exchange moves to realize its quest of becoming the gateway to African markets, it's taken steps to ensure time filing of earnings reports by quoted companies. Data obtained from the NSE show that in the first quarter of the year, 48.69% of the companies filed their results, while 51.31% are yet to submit their reports. For the second quarter results ending June 2014, 86 companies have filed their results, representing 45.03% as of August 7, 2014. This is a good response as it shows that some companies are beginning to react to post-listing requirements. However, Chief Executive Officer of the NSE, Oscar Oyeme, recently said the Nigerian Stock Exchange had taken the tough stand on errant companies in recent times. Fines imposed on listing companies in 2013 amounting to 612 million naira, noting that the figure shows that the NSE is not keen to letting companies get away with infractions. The Nigerian Stock Exchange is in talk with companies and relevant insurance authorities to fast-track the resolutions of the problems. The Lagos Chambers of Commerce and Industry has opposed the plans of the federal government to privatize the Bank of Industry and the Bank of Agriculture, saying both organizations will be unable to achieve their goals if the plan is carried out. According to the LCCI, as the Lagos Chambers of Commerce and Industry, the organization development finance institutions and the objectives are usually in conflict with the goals of private enterprises resolved around profit. The LCCI arrived at the conclusion at its council meeting, which was stated in the communique made available in Lagos. The global practice of the LCCI explained is for the DFIs, that the direct finance institutions, to be government-owned because of the peculiarities of the mandate, adding that the basic objectives of the development finance is to support the growth and development of the real sector and infrastructure in the economy, which entails the provision of the subsidized long-term affordable finance to investors. The Chamber, however, called on the government to improve their capitalization and ensure that they are properly managed rather than privatize the institutions. Nigeria and the United States have commenced plans to leverage on the U.S. President Barack Obama on the $14 billion investment pledge to Africa for an effective finance structure for infrastructure in the country. The Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Olusegun Aganga, and the U.S. Commerce Secretary, Penny Pritzker, agreed during a bilateral meeting at the just concluded U.S.-Africa Summit that increased investment in the area of infrastructure will further improve Nigerian business environment. While two countries agreed to work on the financial structure for infrastructure within the next few weeks, Pritzker noted the U.S. companies are eager to do business in Nigeria due to the ongoing reforms in the critical sector, adding that they will also leverage on the U.S. export assistance facilities scattered around the country. Aganga, who spoke to journalists in Washington, D.C. during the summit, said, apart from the investment commitments and the memorandum of understanding that was signed during the summit, most investors agreed that Nigeria has the most robust, clear, and friendly policies on par, which other African countries should try to emulate. The federal government says at least 4 major rail lines across the country will be completed this year. The Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Transport, Nebulisa Emodi, made a disclosure that the government had been able to complete many rail lines and will finish the rehabilitation and construction of many others before the end of 2014. According to the government, the branch line from Kafancha to Kaduna is expected to be completed this month, while the target completion date for the Itakpe-Ajaokuta-Warri standard gauge rail line is before the end of the year. Other major achievements in the rail transport sector were the completion of 74 stations and a branch line between Lagos and Kano and the 300-meter link between Apapa Port Complex and the National Line, adding that the spur line to the Kaduna Power Plant Complex had commenced and the project will be completed by the end of this year. And on the stock report, equity transaction on the Nigerian Stock Exchange ended on a bearish note today. The Nigerian Stock Exchange All Shares Index depreciated by 585.67 points to close lower at 42,012.73 basis points. Market capitalization dropped 1.37% to close lower at 13,872 trillion naira. In all, a total of 143 million shares valued at 1.90 billion naira were exchanged in 4,697 deals. Report shows the Seplat Oil PLC topped the gainers chart, followed by Total PLC, NNFM PLC, International Breweries PLC, and Port Spain PLC. On the other hand, Nigerian Breweries PLC led the losers chart, followed by Guinness PLC, Dangote Summit PLC, Cadbury PLC, and Flour Mill PLC. Meanwhile, here are the top 5 trades. And that's it on business news. Coming up next is sport news with Brownze Uwana. Please stay with us.
Our style, that's what he delivered. Usain Bolt storming, Puyol with a flying lead.
Bo taking them out in the lead immediately.
Thanks for joining us on Sport News tonight. I am Brownze Uwana. Nigeria under-20 women team, the Falconets, arrived Edmonton ahead of the last group match against England at the ongoing FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup. Nigeria currently top Group C with 4 points after a 2-1 win in their second match against Korea and a 1-1 draw against Mexico. England has 2 points, same with Mexico, while Korea Republic sits at the bottom with 1 point. The team need at least a draw against England to top Group C and qualify for the knockout stage. Nigeria's last match comes up on Thursday morning. And away from that, Germany all-time leading scorer Miroslav Klose has announced his retirement from international football. The 36-year-old Lazio striker helped his country win the World Cup in Brazil, becoming record scorer in the tournament history. Klose, who totaled 71 goals in 137 international, became third player to score at 4 World Cup finals. He is the second member of the German team to quit after the tournament following captain Philipp Lahm's retirement last month. Mikel Arteta has been confirmed as Arsenal captain by manager Arsene Wenger following the 3-0 Community Shield victory over Manchester City at Wembley. Arteta was vice-captain to Thomas Vermaelen before the later departure to Barcelona. He served as keeper for much of last season when the centre-back was out of the side through injury or selections. Wenger also revealed German World Cup winner Per Mertesacker could be the club's vice-captain. Finally on Sport News tonight, to the world of golf, Rory McIlroy put himself among golf's greatest legends on Sunday by winning his 4th major title in dramatic fashion, capturing the PGA Championship in a shotmaker showdown at Isofun Valhalla. 3 weeks after winning the British Open, the 25-year-old from Northern Ireland rallied to the back nine to take his 2nd major victory in a row and 3rd consecutive triumph over an impressive fashion. McIlroy fired a 3-under par 68 in the final round to finish 72 holes on 16 under par 268 and edge 5-time major winner Phil Mickelson by 1 shot with Sweden's 4th-ranked Henrik Stenson and America's Ricky Fowler to adrift.
Winning the Open Championship a few weeks ago had sort of put me on a higher level in this game, but then to win a 4th major here, to be one behind Phil, one behind Seve, level with Ernie, level with Raymond Floyd, I guess. I mean, I never thought I'd get this far at 25 years of age. It's something that I'm just going to have to, you know, come to terms with in a way, and just, you know, it's, yeah, I mean, you know, I was happy being a 2-time major champion coming into this year, and all of a sudden I'm a 4-time major champion and going for the career Grand Slam at Augusta in 292 days, 291 days, whatever it is. Not that I'm counting. To win it in this fashion and in this style, it means a lot. It means that I know that I can do it. I know that I can come from behind. I know that I can mix it up with the best players in the world down the stretch for a major and come out on top. I mean.
And that's my final whistle on Sport News tonight. I am Bronson Wana Ebulomo Adekunle, standing by to bring you foreign news. Stay with us.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website, www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then news. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Many thanks for being there with us on CoreTV Primetime News. As Burundi prepares for its presidential and general elections in a few months, analysts are worried that a violent trend noticed in political campaigns may lead to crisis if not checked. This report takes a look at the worries expressed as a result of a youth mobilization for campaign. The report.
These protesters are all members of the youth wing of the NCDD-FDD, the party that has governed Burundi for almost a decade. Known as the Ibonakure, they are rallying their supporters ahead of next year's presidential election.
In taking part in this march, maybe now others will also have a desire to ask for membership at the very heart of our party.
The group claims to have millions of members, though others estimate their number to be in hundreds of thousands. While this rally is good-natured, Ibonakure activists have been accused of harassing civilians and violent acts against political opponents. Emmanuel belongs to an opposition party and says he and his friends were ambushed.
The Imbonerakure threw themselves on us and beat us with cow horns and iron bars. They attempted to rape 2 girls who were with us. We resisted, but there were lots of them. They hit me here on my head and I had to go to hospital.
Emmanuel claims no one was investigated for the attack. The head of the youth wing admits there are problems but says there are isolated incidents.
1 or 2 in Imbonerakure may commit a crime. We're not denying this. But it is important not to globalise, to generalise, but to denounce the people who committed this act of violence. They need to be tracked down and punished in compliance with the law.
The number of reported incidents have fallen in recent months, especially after the UN voiced concern that weapons could have been distributed among some of the youth wing activists. But rights groups in this small Eastern African nation are still concerned.
There's a risk that these youths who act as though they are a third peacekeeping force alongside the army and police are really a militia. Once armed, this militia risks becoming dangerous. They may even begin to act like the infamous Interahamwe, who kicked off the genocide in Rwanda.
Many here still remember the civil war that ended in 2006 after more than a decade of bloodshed. They fear the campaign for the presidential election, which is just months away, could spark a fresh conflict if not handled maturely.
That's been the show on CoreTV Primetime News tonight. On behalf of the production crew, I am Ebulomo Adekunle saying have a pleasant night rest.